Carbondale's Peloton.
Got you. All right, so the Carbondale Peloton idea, basically Peloton does it all, services all people. You have gyms that provide it, you have people that buy it and do it at home, and then they also have that virtual setup. I kind of, like you said, I can kind of base myself on that just because of the all-around service I can provide. I can meet somebody at a gym for like 30 minutes or an hour. I can meet them at their home facility. They provide the space, I provide the equipment. We can go from there, or a virtual setting. Since we're in the age of technology, with technology only getting better and better, why just limit yourself to face-to-face interactions when me being in Carbondale, I could be training somebody in Texas, just stuff like that, just not limiting yourself on the space and the area that you're in. Always try and branch out and build networks, because you never know. I could end up going to Texas one day or something, and then somebody could say, oh, yeah, you virtually trained my friend. How about while you're down here, we get a few sessions in. So you just never know what opportunities could knock. And
Do you
just
have
gotta
some
be able
folks like at a distance right now that you are training with?
I have two in Florida that I'm training virtually, and I have one in Chicago, and then I have somebody in Wisconsin that buys programs from me from time to time.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a physically fit person, nor am I interested in being physically fit because I'm lazy.
We'll change that, man. We'll talk after the podcast.
Man, we're gonna leave here today, and I'm gonna have my own program, whether I want it or not.
Gotcha.
You're gonna hear me wheezing halfway through the podcast and just be like, "This dude needs my attention."
Yeah, man.
But have you always been just like into physical fitness, and like this was just kind of a fit, and you were like, "Man, I gotta branch this out and do something with it"?
Kind of. Growing up in Chicago, like the neighborhood I was in, I was around a lot of park districts and park areas, so it was always a reason to go outside and be active. And then once I got older, people would ask me like fitness questions, and I would have general knowledge about it, but I wouldn't have like probably what they were actually looking for. So the older I got, I just started looking more into it, and then I ended up going to SIU for school. Kinesiology, sports administration focus, but some of the classes were like exercise science based. So some of the stuff I had minor knowledge and interest in, I was able to just learn more about it. And then eventually I kept getting people asking me like fitness advice. I'm like, all right, it might be something to this. So that's
Somebody give me some money.
Yeah, so that's what led to that experience, just going ahead and getting certified in personal training. And then on top of that, not just training, but nutrition, because you can work out all you want. But, I mean, if you're not eating right, the results not going to show the way you would want them to.
Yeah. Yep. And that, there it is. And we're going to eat right for the mind for episode 58 of the WTF Carbondale podcast, where we talk to interesting people about their interesting lives and tie it all back together to this little old place we call home, Carbondale, Illinois. Episode 58, Kentrell, Palmer. One of my favorite kinds of episodes to do, because we've never met before, and I like meeting new people and then giving people a platform to like just be seen out there, because there's so much going on in this town. And like I've talked about anything from the value of remote work to the value of like trying to keep students here, doing something cool coming out of programs at SIU. And like, this is indicative of that. Like, you may be leaving after you're done with grad school, and that's all well and good when that goes down. But like, if 1 out of every 10 Kentrells stayed around Carbondale because they recognized they could do something out of here and like manage the cost of living, that would be, I mean, that would change the face of this town in terms of getting people to just live here. And you kind of opened up to it, right off the bat of what brought you here, but like school, right? So is that what about Carbondale kind of drew you in? Because another thing, and I'm doing too much rambling right now myself, was there also a combination of like looking at Carbondale and seeing, oh, there's a bunch of parks around Carbondale. This feels like familiar space because there's already a bunch of outdoor activity going on.
That was part of it, and also some of the people from my high school and just people that I grew up in the Chicago area with, they were already down here. So out of all the choices that I had, this was probably the most comfortable pick, just because I'm a first generation college student. So I kind of wanted to make this transition easy as possible. I didn't want to go too far and be stressed, even though, I mean, I was already stressed here, but I mean, college is college, but it's a difference being stressed and you like just a drive away from home as opposed to being stressed and, oh man, I need to find out when the next flight is to get back home.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, trying to go 15, 20 hours away. That's a U-Haul just to get there, and God knows how you get back from there.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good because you could go somewhere, the location is nice, but if you're stressed, how you really going to enjoy it? So.
Well, in kinesiology and kind of the sports, what did you refer to it as, sports management?
It was, I did sports management, sports administration, but it all fell into the kinesiology field.
But that's a pretty good school here at SIU, if I understand correctly. Again,
yeah, that was another selling point. Once I did my campus tour down here and then just talked to my academic advisor at the time, he was telling me about the program, how it was one of the top ones, and that I wouldn't regret like choosing SIU if I wanted to stick with that major just because of the emphasis they put on that program.
Nice. Are you is your grad work in the same field, or have you branched out into something different?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the kinesiology, but this time I'm focusing on sports studies. So it'll be facilities management, psychology of sport, and stuff like that I can incorporate into my business. I could have done the exercise science, but some of that stuff, in my opinion, I went through a lot of it with my personal training certifications, and then just all the books that I have at home reading about, like, functional patterns and stuff like that. So I figured just go with the sports studies so I could learn about facilities management, event management, psychology of activity and stuff like that.
Well, and that's so broad in terms of what you can do with it. Sounds like to me, because I mean, if you've got an understanding of how to run a stadium facility, you've got an understanding of how to run anything.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you know how to run the hot dog stand. You know how to run the gift shop. You know how to run, a major concert coming through to a facility. Like, just all these different things that would play into it. And correct me if I'm wrong in any of this stuff too. Like,
Oh no, you're good. Actually, for one of my undergrad courses, it was event management. So it was probably like a lower level of one of the classes that I probably take in grad school. And one of the projects that we had to do was basically pick a facility and plan an event. So we had to go over like logistics, making sure it was open for everybody, handicap accessible, all of that stuff. So yeah, all of that plays a part, and it just helps when I'm like doing my own business. Like, can I provide my services for everybody? What do I need to do to make sure this person feels like they can contact me and reach out without feeling like they're out of their comfort zone?
Did you the digital training, was that anything you were working on before COVID? Did COVID have an impact on that, or was it just kind of you knew that was part of where the industry was going and you just had to do that?
It was part of, I knew that's where the industry was going, but COVID definitely sped up that process. It was actually, I started this during COVID. So, like, I basically gambled on myself, like, oh, yeah, I'm about to jump into the health and fitness industry at the beginning of a pandemic with a lot of unknowns going on. So I knew that the virtual thing would have to pick up no matter what, just because people didn't know what to do, so they were staying in the houses.
That's good. Gosh, I wish I could shake this. I'm gonna by the end of the day, I'm be out of a voice.
All right, man,
I'm already halfway there.
We're gonna go run, and you're gonna sweat it out, man.
That's right. Oh my God, dude. And I've got two real good friends that stay on me. I mean, I get a Facebook message every day, 30 days worth of something, or 30 minutes worth of something. Do something, Nathan. Do something. And I'm not good about following up. I mean, I'm 31 at this point, which probably sounds old to you guys and young to the guests that we just had in the building. and somewhere in between, my kids look at me and go, "Why can't you keep up?" It's because I'm out of shape, kids. But it's like, man, it's difficult. Like, just to be busy and to and to do all the right things. And it's funny because I'm actually a vegetarian.
Oh.
And you wouldn't be able to tell that just by looking at me, because most vegetarians aren't just running around looking plump like this. But I'm like I'm a dirty vegetarian, man. Like I'm eating, French fries and, just fried foods, microwave burritos, whatever it is, man. Sure, I don't have meat in the diet, but it's not like I've got a good diet just because I'm not eating meat. Is that which would you say for your folks is the more difficult part to address? Is it the exercise component of it, or is it the actual diet and the nutrition aspect of it?
It's probably like 50-50,
Uh-huh.
because I have a handful that are already eating right, but they don't know like what they should be doing as far as their body goals. Then I have some that are just, they love the gym, they love to work out any chance they get, but due to like probably their job or just various reasons, they don't eat right consistently.
Yeah.
So I would say it's probably 50-50.
That's reasonable. I would imagine that's the case. Hey man, I'm sitting here on 100% of the side because I don't want to exercise and I don't want to eat right. So
Yeah, because I have a few people, like, they get off late at night, so only thing that's really open late at night now is fast food restaurants. So
Yeah.
it's quick to go through a drive-through instead of going home, knowing you possibly have something on the healthier side that you could cook. But I mean, at 1 a.m, you really feel like prepping a meal that you probably gonna take 45 minutes to like fully cook. And by that time you're sitting down, look at that, it's 2 o'clock. You eat, get yourself ready to go to sleep. Next thing you know, oh yeah, it's time to wake up, start that cycle over again. When instead I'm off at 1 o'clock, I could just go through this drive-through real quick. I could eat on the way home, kill the time. So yeah.
well, that seems like it's why a lot of the meal prep businesses have been able to get successful, because like that's a much more structured nutritional like plan. Hey, we're gonna, it's gonna be more expensive, but we're gonna go ahead and prep your meal. We're gonna have you set up like, eat like this, act like this, because I would guess that for a lot of folks it's the thinking part. Like it takes a lot,
Yeah.
to think through all the components of nutrition and fitness. And that again ties back into, well, you put together a plan for somebody. You actually coach somebody through that plan. You make corrections to that plan as needed. Like if I'm somebody that's working 40, 50 hours a week, like the last thing that I'm trying to do is spend all my time thinking about how am I going to eat better?
Yeah.
How am I going to,
Yeah,
live
that's the
better?
challenge. That's the biggest challenge right there. Basically getting somebody to buy into knowing that you need to eat right in order to get the results you want if you're going to consistently work out. So that'll, like, I know I said it's 50-50, but it's probably more emphasis on the nutrition, especially in ways I'm limited because I'm just a nutritionist. So I can't say, yeah, you need to go eat this. I can just make suggestions.
Yeah.
I can't like sit down, me and you sit down and I say, oh yeah, for breakfast you're gonna eat this, this and that. I could just put you in the ballpark of stuff that you should like start leaning towards. Yeah.
Are there kind of certifications that you can pick up along the way with this? Because I know the bigger degree obviously is focused on what it's focused on, but you talked about becoming a certified personal trainer. Like, is there just a bunch of continued education that's in this field?
It's a lot of continued education courses, and various websites offer different things. So if you want to focus on like youth training, there's courses for that. I just got an email the other day saying that I could apply for tactical training, which would basically be like people in the field, Marine, Navy-based training and stuff like that. So it's all about what you want to do with it. So once you find your lane, you can kind of just see what continued education courses there are for you.
Have you always had kind of an entrepreneurial mindset, or is this like just something that you happen to fall into because it lined up with all the other activity you had going on?
I always had the plan that one day I would be doing something that I started with the help of other people. So I've always kind of had that mindset. Basically, like I said, growing up in Chicago, that was kind of like one of the stronger mindsets to have. Like, you needed to be able to go get it for yourself and just always like stay in go mode business wise. So it's always cool to like have fun and, do other jobs, but in the back of my mind, I always knew like working for somebody else wasn't for me. Like I knew I needed to start something on my own, and the sooner I did it, the better it'd be because I'd be able to learn early. That way, by the time I'm 30, I'm like, all right.
Man, that was right to the heart, dude. I felt that. I felt that little handshake. When I'm 30. Damn.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I mean, that's only 5 years away, so I mean, it's coming.
Oh
But
man, here's what I'm gonna tell you straight up, man. Nobody tells you how rough 25 to 30 is. It doesn't matter where you're at, what you're doing, how you're set up. 25 to 30 is just a tough run of time.
Yeah,
So prepare for it, man. If it's not already on you, it's coming.
I've only heard about the fun stuff. I haven't heard about the crazy stuff, but I'm learning about the crazy stuff on my own, and I just sit back and think like, man, why wasn't y'all telling me about this side of it?
Have you been able to engage with any of the small business resources in town or through SIU, like the Small Business Development Center, or have you just kind of done this kind of on your own from scratch, figuring it out as you go along?
Basically figuring it out on my own. I have some contacts. I haven't personally reached out to that the program you were talking about, but I have contacts within SIU. I actually did an internship there my senior year for marketing.
Nice.
So I have contacts there that I reach out to from time to time, like, hey, what are your thoughts on if I post something like this, or if you were in my position and you were gonna run this type of event, how would you make the flyer, stuff like that. And then basically everything else is like on my own, friends and stuff like that. Because I knew like starting a business, I know like the first 2 years, money wise, is like, do you really want to put it all in there? Then if it fails, you're broke. So I basically stuck to what I knew. I knew I had a marketing background, so I did that. I do majority of the marketing myself, but I get help from time to time.
Like somebody to show up and take pictures of you wherever
one of
you
my
are.
best friends, one of my
you
best
can't see him
friends
off
over
camera, but
here,
it's there. It's there.
he a photographer, so I'm like, all right, he trying to build his portfolio. Let's work. My girlfriend, she's into graphic design, so I'm like, all right.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. Let's put something together that people like. And then you actually had one of my buddies on here, Marshawn Tucker. Yeah. I pick his brain for all like the business information, like as far as Facebook marketing, social media marketing, public marketing, and stuff like that. So,
it was so interesting with Marshawn's episode. It was a buddy of mine who I talked about, I think, on that podcast, Kyle, who was episode number 7. He saw it and he saw what Marshawn was doing. He was like, oh, and like he knew, even though Marshawn may not have applied the technical terms to it,
right.
Kyle was like, oh, this dude's working with economy of scale, and like went through all of the technical components of like why something like him and what he's doing is actually competitive with, with your larger entities doing similar things like an Uber or a Lime or whatever else that does the scooter activity in large metropolitan areas. It's like that scale in Carbondale doesn't necessarily work for some of these larger entities.
Right.
But for somebody like Marshawn, who's working at an economy of scale, it can actually work just fine, executing that here in a Carbondale market. And that's something that, kind of excites me to kind of play with and seek out in this podcast, more entrepreneurs like yourself and like Marshawn that are working at that economy of scale. Because right now, I mean, you've got, however many dozen or two clients that you have that you're working with, right? And that works for you at the scale that you're at.
Right.
And eventually you're going to work it up to a point where you hit that wall and it's like, okay, do we stay at this level and this is good and like there are other projects that we spin up off on this other side, or do we figure out what the next step is in the scaling up of the business?
Yeah, you basically on the right track about it. I'm at 14 consistent clients that I see throughout the week. I have 5 online, and then I have like one-offs here and there that are just by a program. So right now, I'm comfortable with that. Could I take on more? Sure. I mean, like I get messages all the time, but sometimes the time slots don't work out because I have some people that want to work out when I already have sessions booked. Now it'll be fine if the sessions that are already booked were like outside or something like that, because I can incorporate them more. But the majority of mine, for the most part, are home visits, because with the pandemic and all that, a lot of people weren't really comfortable leaving their homes. So I figured if they have a decent amount of space, like garage, just lift the door up so we can get some air circulation. We can work out there. I have one, I actually go out there 3 times a week, train the husband and the wife for about an hour.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just a quick drive out to Murfreesboro, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, stuff like that. But the scaling is definitely, like, it plays a big part, because I know the area, I don't want to overwork myself. And then with it being a smaller town, I don't want to get a bad rap. Like, oh, yeah, he started off good, but I could tell he's not what he used to be.
Yeah.
You could get away with that in a bigger city. Like, okay, I'm from Chicago. If I took my business to Chicago, I got people under me. I could keep the top tier clients, or whatever you want to call them, and then just divvy off the one-off sort of people I don't see as often to the other people. So now it's like, oh yeah, we're working out, but we're not always seeing him, and that's fine. As opposed to being here, like, they have to see me, because it's like, it's my business. So if I don't have them, and then I'm sending them to somebody else, it could be a misrepresentation of the brand, because maybe that trainer isn't doing what they had in mind as far as their body goals. So now they're messaging me or just putting it on Facebook or something like, hey, KP Fitness, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. They don't go by what I asked for and stuff like that. So the scaling to your population is a big part about it, because you don't want to overwork yourself. You don't want to underdeliver what you're promising on either.
The the brand protection aspect, I think, is huge.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I struggle with this with the WTF Carbondale stuff, right? That everybody has in their own mind what this brand means, right?
Yeah,
to me,
I didn't know what to expect. Because I actually, just to go back to Marshawn real quick, when he told me he did it, I was like, how'd the podcast go? I was like, because sometimes scrolling through that page, I don't know what to expect.
That's it, man. And you're right. And it's just the podcast that we were just doing beforehand. I mean, the criticism there is, what does it mean really? Is it something that's meant to be negative and tearing stuff down? Is it something that's meant to do something else? And for me, that's been the difficult part of handing a good portion of the brand over to the general public,
right,
with something like a Facebook group. And then whatever the general public does, that's what the brand becomes a representation of.
Right.
And even though there may be 4 out of 5 posts that are like good and doing something constructive and whatever else, it's that 20%, that 1 in 5 that people will pop up on and be like, and then that's all it takes to start tearing stuff down.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you can walk around, man, anywhere that's not behind or that's not right in front of the camera, you're good. So if you want to get on the other side of him, if you want to get behind him, you're all right. That's his cameraman. That's his other cameraman doing the photos right now. We're directing him around the space. So yeah, man, no, you're absolutely right. And that's part of kind of the podcast itself really embraces the brand as I want it to be seen,
right,
which is kind of this fringe perspective on all of the things that are carnal to Carbondale. So trying to get people just in here telling their own Carbondale story and, telling the stories that they've experienced in Carbondale, whether it's somebody that's been here for 50 years or somebody that's been here for 5 years. That's what I'm looking for. I'm just kind of pigeonholed myself into the singular brand concept of WTF Carbondale, instead of trying to break it off and be like, well, the podcast is actually, right, I don't know what I'd call it, interesting Carbondale or something like that. And then the group is its own name and the page is its own name and the Instagram is its own thing. It's like I've just kept it all under a single umbrella.
Yeah, so now everything getting labeled as the same thing.
Do what? Sorry?
And so now everything's getting labeled as the same thing.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. And then that's where I've got to push back on it and just figure out, well, how do I curate the group in an effort to represent the broader brand correctly as I'm hoping that it'll be seen.
Right.
So yeah, that's I get you, I guess is what I'm working to say is that I get you. So, no, did you meet your girlfriend here while you were at school?
We met down here, and she basically supported the idea because we basically both lost our jobs at the same time during the pandemic. So once I told her that this was in the back of my mind, I'm like, I already spent all this money getting certified. I might as well put it to work. So she was like strongly behind me, helping me with all of that stuff. She helped with the initial stages as far as the graphic designing and all of that. Then, like I said, my photographer right here, he helped out with the first set of group sessions that I was doing, which really helped me start off and get clients right away, as opposed to, oh yeah, I had this fitness company, but then there's nothing there to show what I'm doing.
I tell you what, man, the group thing's an interesting idea, and I just plant some seeds with you to work off of. What is it to solicit a business client, right? Somebody who's got 10 or 15 employees that they want to see run through a wellness program. And then, whether it's remote work or on in person, right, that you're able to kind of guide and drive that program. So just, if we're talking about how to scale up, but also maintain the quality of service and do service to the brand overall, right? That's the way to do it, is to grab these groups of folks. So what's it been like? I guess I should say, how do you get clients to begin with now? Like, is it just kind of your own personal network, or what have you done to kind of find folks?
Word of mouth. I did some Facebook ads, but they weren't really working. I was getting more just off of natural posts instead of putting money behind them. I started using LinkedIn more.
Oh yeah.
At first I was just using Facebook and Instagram, but then I got to thinking about it. Like, LinkedIn is probably where I want to be at, because like it's professionals on there, and it's more business like on there. So I was able to just message some people from the Carbondale area, like, hey, I'm a personal trainer, nutrition coach in the area. If you want to sit down and talk, meet, grab a cup of coffee or something, we can just talk about if you have any specific goals or needs that you want to accomplish. Some people responded. Some people responded with interest. Some people responded basically saying, not right now.
Yeah.
Then you had those people that just opened it, and, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But as far as just getting clients, word of mouth, referrals from clients that I like have or previously had, and stuff, like I actually got two, because I know when we were talking over like Facebook, you said you had heard about a group challenge that I did. I got probably 3 new clients just off of the Biggest Loser competition that I did, just because they knew people that were in it, and they were like, oh, okay, the results are real.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I mean, and that's, that's it, man. That networking, that's another thing that we just miss out on, that our generations weren't really like taught into, was like, hey, here's the importance of networking. Like, it doesn't matter. You can have all the work ethic in the world. You can have all the skills in the world.
Yeah.
If you don't know people and know how to get people on your side, that's it.
Yeah,
you got nothing.
Yeah, because it's one thing to promote on your computer or your phone all day, but if nobody can put the face to the name, I mean, me personally, I wouldn't, as far as like virtual training, I wouldn't send somebody like a lump sum of money if we've never even met before.
Yeah.
So it's always good to make sure that your face is attached to your business. That way, when people look you up, like search the business, they're like, oh yeah, we've talked before, instead of, all right, what is this KP Fitness? All right, he has a fitness program. Let me look at the page. Okay, the page looks good, but who is he? So it's always good to make sure that your face and your name is attached to what you're doing. That way people have something to fall back on when they want to know more, like how to reach you and stuff like that.
Do you feel like you're a natural marketer, like that it's always been kind of something for you, like a good fit, or do you feel like you've had to work at getting to understand how to present yourself and how to build that brand and all that stuff?
People-wise, I've always been able to like sell what I was doing, or just I basically just turn it into regular conversation. Then at the end of it, I just see how it went. But as far as social media, I had to work harder to figure out what I could and couldn't do, especially like in the fitness industry. The health column is heavily criticized on how you word stuff. because I actually got flagged once for a post that I made about like weight loss. I did a progression picture, and I guess some of my phrasing triggered the algorithm, and it got flagged for trying to promote unrealistic expectations. So as far as the marketing, like social media wise, I've had to work harder to make sure that I'm wording stuff right. I go back and read it a few times, like, all right, this is general enough, instead of trying to throw too much on it. But like word to mouth, just people wise, I can just sell what I'm doing all day.
Man, that algorithm will get you every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, which is good on some sense, because I'd rather have it be a little heavy-handed and like get all the people that are out there being like, you know, spreading real bad misinformation about one thing or the other. But at the same time, it's like you had a real experience and you were really sharing that with folks. And it's like, this is, you know, and yet somehow I still get, you know, ads that show up that are like, this product was on Shark Tank and look how it helped this person lose 300 pounds. And it's like, how are you going to let that ad stay?
Probably the more money you throw at it, the more they're willing to look the other way.
That's probably it. That's probably it. Have you ever, have you thought about doing like, just like standard videos, almost like a Tybo type thing where you're like doing the workout videos and stuff for folks? Is that part of what you do now?
P90X and all of that. No, not yet. I thought about it, but those are time consuming from what I've like noticed, and the hours that it takes to make those.
Yeah.
I could just do that with a client for an hour and then just go to the next client, as opposed to, all right, I make sure I got all the angles right, lighting's right, the sound matches what's going on with the video and stuff like that. So I thought about it probably later down the line, or I might add it like to start off at like a beta test, just not as long, and then the more comfortable I get with it, probably make full courses off of it.
Cool. Yeah, we're just talking through things that you know kind of make sense on scale, right? Everything from group activity to media or whatever else, and it, you know, this is kind of that Cinderella story of where everything starts, right? It's always that square one. You know, not everybody's an Elon Musk whose family was, you know, colonial, like rare earth miners who were, you know, everybody's like, oh, Elon Musk, self-made man. It's like, nah, man, his family was pretty sketch getting in there to begin with, and he already had millions, if not billions of dollars behind him, who just happened to be kind of smart. Like, let's not give him too much credit.
And then another thing, to go back to scaling, it helps when you know your target audience.
Yeah.
So probably like my first month, I was just scrambling around like, all right, who can I get? Is it going to be people my age group? Is it going to be older people? Is it going to be younger people? So that first month was probably the most stressful, because I was trying to figure out who could I get. But after that, I just sat back and just let my work do the talking. So now my target audience probably is older people. Matter of fact, it is older people.
Yeah.
Just because I realized
People who are like 30. No, just
No, man, that's I'm gonna consider that my age group, since I'm only 5 years away. So, man, no, you're not old, man. But the older generation, they're easier to train, in my opinion, just because they know what they want. They're not gonna waste my time, just because they kind of have like their schedule set and they don't plan on changing it. So I have them. They're basically like my core. Then I have people in our age range, in our age range, and then I have a few people that are like high school and stuff like that. One of my favorite clients, 15, just she does everything, general fitness. She likes the heavy weights. She parachute runs, all of that stuff. So, and then it helps me like not get stale. I can always come up with something new, since I'm dealing with 3 different dynamics.
What's part of the learning in kinesiology, and I know that you're not, you know, hyper focused on all of the specifics about the body and whatnot, but I would imagine that there's, you know, some trainers you may go to and they're just like, lift these weights and I'm here to yell at you and do your thing and blah, blah, blah. And that can like lead to injury, versus like training somebody right and knowing the science behind what you're asking them to do. Like, is that a critical component to the work that you do as well?
Yes. And that's one of the reasons a lot of people are nervous about getting a personal trainer because you have those, like you said, yeah, today we're going to lift all these weights and then that's it. Then you have some where it's just you may not be heavily lifting weights, but the entire session is intense. So you need to know who you're working with, know what they can and can't do. That's me personally. The first session that I do with anybody, I basically it's like a test. What like all right, what can you can't do? I just basically throw everything at you, and then at the end of it, we cool down, we talk. I was like, all right, you did better in this area than that area. So when we're training, your technique, I don't have to worry about your technique, but we're gonna worry about your stamina lifting this amount of pounds as opposed to this amount. So that's definitely a key component. The trainers that I talk to and that I keep in contact with, that's one thing that they told me to like stay focused on, just knowing who I'm with and knowing how and how not to run the session.
Have you had some mentorship along the way that's kind of helped you refine things as you progress?
Yeah, I have a few people down here in the area that I talk to from time to time. Then I have a couple of people that I just watch like through social media. And then I have those, like I said, I started using LinkedIn. I have a few on LinkedIn that I shoot messages to every now and then, especially like with the virtual stuff. How did they get into it? Like, how did they stick with it, even though it started off slow and stuff like that? So, yeah. I have a few contacts all across the board that I reach out to whenever I'm stuck or just need clarification on something.
Nice. Have you have you looked at kind of writing as an opportunity as well at all? Like just putting, because I know just LinkedIn's really good for distributing professional media, not just like video and stuff, but like, hey, I wrote this article about this thing. Here's this experience that I had with the client. Like, just kind of trying to capture stuff by virtue of being a resource for folks.
Yeah, I've looked into that on LinkedIn. Then I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's a company called Upwork, basically like freelance services.
Yeah.
It's a section on there for projects, and in the health part, the health category of it is actually people that are looking for trainers to like write up stuff like that.
Oh,
like,
nice.
Yeah.
So do you do some work through Upwork as well? And
yeah, that's why when I graduated, that's where I started. Because the college story, I didn't get a job right away. so yeah, I actually found Upwork, and I was doing a lot of like marketing projects, whether it was just general marketing or just like fitness and stuff like that. I was doing work through there for probably a year, on and off, but they were like lengthy projects. So probably a 2-month project here, 3-week project there, stuff like that.
nice. Whew. Sorry, man. I wish my voice wasn't trying to give out on me this whole time.
That's all good, man.
So what? Just in terms of Carbondale, do you feel like it's kind of given you the space to do this, where you may have not been able to have as much space and the ability to achieve what you're achieving in like a larger metro area like Chicago, or do you feel?
So far, I feel like I got what I asked for in a sense.
Yeah.
I live right behind a park, so the super block actually. So I take people to the track, or I take people to that little recreation area at the park. So yeah, I'm taking advantage of all the space that's around here. There's a lot of open field. Weather, except for this week, is normally nice around this time of year. So yeah, just taking advantage of all of that. Because actually, last year, I was able to train people outside until the middle of December, just because of the weather. So
Bless up climate change.
it,
It's both warm and cold all at the same time. Oh man, I can train till December now, but turns out there's gonna be a freak snowstorm in May.
yeah, because it actually, like, I didn't even plan on like training outside probably past November. I figured, oh yeah, there's no way people are gonna do it, but wake up, you're still getting 55 and sunny.
Let's go.
Yeah.
No, man, I dig that, and I remember when they first built the super block was right around the time that I was getting old enough to go umpire baseball games at the super block, and it's a real It's a real nice resource to have. I mean, it's just, it's not every small town everywhere in America has as much outdoor community space as we have. And, to recognize that the existence of the park there, of the super block there, or of the parks throughout the town actually have an influence on commerce, like what you're doing. Like, not everybody thinks about it. I surely don't think about it like that very often, but like that's something to note, like that public space influences private commerce in what you're doing. So.
Yeah, and actually some of my clients, when they would ask where to meet, and I would tell them they've been in Carbondale for years but never knew about the super block. So
that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, I know it's a little hidden away, right? Like, unless you take that turn and you go down there, like, it's behind the school and it's behind apartments on either side. It's behind the behind Sports Blast or what is it called now? Warehouse Gym. Man, I gotta get Dirk on this show. But I mean what's now Warehouse Gym. Back when I would have been in like grade school, we would go like bowling there for field trips and stuff. Like, it was just this old smoky bowling lounge. It was just interesting, and like how many things it's been over the years and what they've been able to do with that building and turn it into something as fancy and beautiful as it is now with the wedding events and all that other stuff. But I digress. I'm getting way off base here. Way off base. It's just it's cool to know that that these things have an influence on it like that. Don't slow down, Nathan. You only got 20 more minutes left. You can do this.
Oh, man,
you manage this conversation.
Fight through it, man.
Dude, and then I still got a concert I got to do tonight. I mean, by the time this podcast airs, the concert will be long and over. But it's like, dude, it's. And I was supposed to do thank God, we were supposed to do a small stand-up comedy show tomorrow for my buddy Coach, who we were gonna have like 10 or 15 people in, all distance and mask and whatever, and like give them their own personal mics to pick up the laughs. When he was like, man, we're going to have to push this out a couple weeks, I was like, thank God I wasn't going to be able to make it through the next day and a half to get there. Where am I going here? What do I want to ask about Carbondale and yours relationship that we haven't touched on yet? I mean, what are some things that you might miss that aren't here that we need here, that like you think could make this place more suitable to just have people stick around when they're done with school?
More like activity spots in town, as opposed to having to go to like Carterville, Marion, or take a longer drive to St. Louis.
Yeah.
Just like more attraction spots. I know like nature is a big thing, like the hike trails and stuff like that, but that, in my opinion, only satisfies one part of Carbondale.
Yep.
You have those people that's not really into that type of stuff, so like try and build things that appease everybody. I mean, I know you can't please everybody.
Yeah, but just if you could have something that anybody can pick up and run with.
Yeah, then especially since this is deemed, quote unquote, a college town, other than the university, like give it something more than like I feel like that's what's holding on to it as like a college town. Because if you look around in the summertime when the students aren't here, it's just a regular old town. So I would just say add things that keep people going.
Keep them moving. Now that's where I wanted. I was talking to somebody about episode 55. Scott Thorne. It's the guy that owns Castle Perilous. It's a little shop for collectibles and memorabilia and tabletop gaming and just a bunch of different stuff out of that space. And it's like, well, what do we need to have downtown to like, draw people in? It's like experiential businesses. Like, it doesn't matter what that experience is. It's just there needs to be some sort of experience there for people to have, and maybe not just another bar or another, coffee shop or whatever, but like what's something unique that people, are gravitating towards these days that could really fill in this space. I don't know what it is. I just know I'm trying to find people that do have an idea.
Yeah, especially in a small town, because that'd be something different as opposed to something that you experienced in like Chicago or St. Louis that comes down here. Like create something, like you said, I don't know what it is either, but just create something on like the strip that nobody's ever really experienced before. And I mean, 9 times out of 10, it might work. So
Yeah. Well, I always thought it was real interesting. I'm bummed that they're not, that neither of the business that occupied the space are there now, but just having a CrossFit gym down here where it's like at any given point in time during the day, you'd see 10, 15 people running up and down the strip, like exercising and stuff. And it's like,
man, give me time, man. We working.
good. I'll, hustle hard and stay quiet.
Yeah, man, we working. I got some stuff working behind the scenes, good. Man. Just give me some time.
I will, man. But and that's cool. Like and especially like stuff like what's going on with the different paint activities right now. Cray and Marquez, what they do at Project Human X, but John, JP at Artistic Mind, they're trying to bring in more experiential stuff. I think we could do like a paint crawl in downtown where it's like you start at one business and you work your way down and you have a drink here, you have a drink there, you paint a little bit to your painting here, you paint a little bit to your painting there, but it's like that type of kind of path-based activity flows with everything, right? Yeah. Could you get people to do workout stations throughout downtown and get people like start off at Friendship Park and touch base at the empty lot by Chicago Hot Dog and then get down to the pavilion and like you just have exercise stations all the way down. I know I'm planting more ideas in your head and just seeing where it'll go at a later point in time. But if anything that you hear, you latch on to, let me know and I'll see if I can help.
All right, yeah, I might have to reach out and do some projects with them. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
especially
and I mean,
with the summertime coming up.
And there's so much like openness, right? If you're willing to execute the program, there's generally somebody out there that's willing to like help put their name on it, right? Whether it's tourism or Main Street or the city or whatever else. Like if you're going to show up and be like, hey, I'm a student, I've got a business, I think this would be valuable as like a activity downtown. I mean, the city up until the pandemic, right? They were doing these outdoor workout sessions and like filming and sharing like, hey, this is your Tuesday morning Zumba class at the pavilion or whatever. But it's like stuff like that's got to make a comeback, right? And that's what ultimately I think gets people interested in just doing stuff in the areas they drive by and they see, oh, this is going on over here. That's cool. Maybe I'll check this out over there because now I'm more comfortable with seeing all these different people up and down the street, and it's not just a barren wasteland and there's nobody to be seen and you're like, oh, there's some nice trees and then concrete and what else is there to go? I mean, silly as it sounds, like Pokemon Go. Like when Pokemon Go first dropped, dude, everybody was walking around downtown hitting everything up. And it was like, there's so many people here. What is going on? Sorry, I've been doing too much rambling, man.
Oh, no, man, you all good. But going back to that, it's kind of like a small town syndrome that I like chalk it up to, where like the people in the area get so comfortable with how things are, when something new comes around, they're skeptical of it. Yeah. Because probably one of my first like Facebook ads, I was promoting group sessions and had a couple people laugh react at it. And
ooh. That random laugh react is always the hard one, man.
Yeah,
like why? Did you like? And you always question like, did they mean to laugh react? Was it just like an accident? Yeah. Were they scrolling through and oops, they hit the wrong button or whatever?
Yeah, I had a couple people laugh react at it, but I didn't let it get to me because I mean, you got to put a value on what people think about what you have going on. Mm-hmm. Like somebody that I probably would never see laughing at my post is not gonna affect me the way a business laughing at my post would be. Yeah. Like if Nike laughed at it and I had on and I was training somebody in the ad and I had on a Nike outfit and they reacted at it, I'd feel a different type of way as opposed to Sam laughing at it and I don't even know who this is, even if it's even a real person.
And you remember that name too. Like I won't forget you, Sam. If you're out there right now, Sam, and you're watching, we see you,
So that's another thing basically that I've learned doing a business on my own without like an overhead support. I just have to watch like how I react and how I value certain comments and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of people that have said some things that like can't be said on here
Yeah.
about like what I'm doing and like how I'm doing or the type of person like that I am and stuff like that. But I can't put a value on that if it's not helping me. Why value it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Just move it on, and and it's at all levels, right? Because there you could have people that are close to you that are like, Kentrell, is this really going to work?
all right,
You really want to put all your time into this? Is this really what you think's the right thing to do? And they're going to challenge you to question yourself.
yeah,
And then like if you land in a space where you say, this is the right thing for me. Somebody has challenged me and told me, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. But I know in my heart of hearts, like, this is what I'm going to do because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And be damned whatever a couple other people over here think. Like, it's about me knowing what's right for myself and taking into account what people say, but knowing like, it's just a grain of salt.
yeah. You got to be willing to bet on yourself, especially opening a business, doing your own thing. So if you don't believe in yourself, it's gonna fall flat, and you're gonna end up just like, all right, maybe I shouldn't have done this, and it's probably 3 years down the line, business is trash, and you're like, man, I should have listened, or I should have just asked for help when it was offered and stuff like that. But all the help that all the help that I've received, it goes 50-50. People reach out or I ask for it. I'm not afraid to ask for the help. I don't want to live in that what if factor.
Yeah.
I don't want to be 3 months down the line and be like, man, what if I would have asked such and such to help with this? Where would I be at now? I don't want to run my business in a what if stage. I would just rather, all right, we did this and it failed. What's next?
Well, just say yes, right? And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, man. I can't, I'm 4 or 5 businesses in my life right now, all but one has failed in a particular way, and the one that hasn't failed has never been like something that I've focused on growing and expanding.
Right.
But the key factor is like I've tried, and I'm going to use all those experiences along the line to like put into whatever the next thing is, right? And just saying I'm not gonna quit at that. Probably something that's highly applicable in the in the personal trainer world. It's like just not letting people quit on themselves.
Yeah, because if you let them quit on themselves, then you lost them. There's no recovering from that because they already come in with some type of doubt, like, should I really be doing this, or how committed should I be in this? That's why I try and make all my clients feel as comfortable and confident as possible, because if you lose those two things, it's done. The highly enthusiastic text messages that they would send, those just go to, oh yeah, I completed my workout, or this was fun, and then you just stop hearing from them. So yeah, you got to keep them motivated, comfortable, and all of that, because you lose them, they're gone, and then you'll never know why, because they won't tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just let it go. No, that's interesting, man. Just how very real that experience is. Like how you got to not let them go, and it's not it's not just for for the sake of, oh, well, I gotta eat myself. I gotta put food on the table for me. But it's like you're probably really invested in these folks that become these clients, and like it's a personal mission at some point to not let them go.
That's the first part of it, personal training. Like you're a personal trainer. Like that personal part is a key thing about retaining and gaining clients, because if you don't connect with them on a personal level, you're just a guy that they see for an hour, and then you go about your business after that, probably 2 or 3 times a week. But if you connect with them on that personal level, they aren't afraid to reach out to you on an off day to ask, hey, I'm doing this workout, am I doing it right? As opposed to, yeah, I see Kentrell Thursday, I'll just ask him about what I did Wednesday, ask him if that was okay. So, yeah.
Well, that's good. And I mean, it sounds like you've got the folks that are like willing, and putting yourself out there. I mean, that's again part of the personal touch of the business. It doesn't matter if you're if you're running a $5 million store or a $5,000 activity, that it's It's that personal touch.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even at a franchise level, right? You go to a corporate store. Like the difference between a corporate store or a franchise that is run well and one that's run poorly is the person that's taking charge and ownership over the relationships that exist around that business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a McDonald's is a great example of that. You know, I mean, especially in here and in this region, like our McDonald's in the area is like trended downhill for quite some time, got bought by a new group, and that new group was like a locally based group that like the owners and their family are like in these places, visible and communicating and engageable and all that fun stuff. And it's like, okay, I see how this can become personal even at a large corporate level with a global brand like McDonald's. Same stuff applies.
Yeah.
I'm getting close, man. I'm getting close. We're like 5 minutes to go before I hit that magic hour mark that I'm happy with. What do you, what is there anything that we're missing that we haven't touched on? I mean, one thing that's been burning in the back of my mind that I haven't asked yet, just because you've been in the kinesiology department. Have you had Phil Anton for any of your classes?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Is he on the list?
They told me I would see him more during grad school.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just I know him as kind of a, he's the man about town. Everybody knows Phil and all the Strong Survivor stuff and the WSIU fundraising he does and da 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 da. And when you said kinesiology, he's the person when you think SIU kinesiology and you don't know anything about SIU kinesiology, the person that you think of is Phil Anton.
Yeah, we've had email conversations, and we probably met once when I was an intern for the rec, so he probably doesn't know who I am.
Yeah.
But they told me once I started grad school, get used to seeing his name, get used to seeing him way more, hearing his name a lot more than I did for undergrad.
So you was that where you lost your work at when the pandemic hit? Were you working at the rec center?
No. Actually, I was working at a gym in the area, but due to like the pandemic, just like funding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But no, the rec, I did. Like I said, I was just doing an internship with them my senior year. Just a marketing internship with them, just helping them brand around campus. Nice. So I told them I had a marketing background, so just help them out with that. That's how I got in touch with some of my contacts that I still keep in touch with from SIU.
Nice. I mean, it seems like the rec center is definitely the place to have a foot in the door with kind of the work that you got going on, man. Now, and oh shucks, Cornet now being like the director over the rec center and stuff. Like it's cool to see how these things all kind of come together.
He's the one that signed off on the internship.
Did he?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Him and Sally.
I don't know Sally. Who is Sally?
Sally Wright. I believe she's like right under him. Nice. If I'm wrong, I apologize.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, they signed off on my internship, and then for the marketing, I ended up working with Mary Stoffel.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice. And that would be probably Mark's wife, I would guess. Stoffel sounds like Mark's a musician.
Yeah, that's
He actually just had him on this stage for a concert a couple weeks ago. So he hit me up as a pointers afterwards because I went too wide on all three camera angles, and he was like, "Next time for your future." And I was like, "I know, Mark. There were 5 of you guys on the stage, man. I struggled with the tight angle shots, but I want to have him in for the podcast too. And I may see if he's one of the he and Mary would do a dual podcast. I haven't done a dual podcast in a while. That'd be fun.
Yeah, Mary, she still helps me out from time to time with the marketing. So
good.
Yeah, I always make sure I keep in touch with her.
Well, these people have your back, right? And it's so funny that you bring up, the going to grad school and sticking around, whatever else. Like I've had 2 or 3 other folks, Marshawn, a good example of that, where he was like, listen, the relationship that I had with an instructor, with a professor, with whatever, who were like, hey, do your grad work here, and like, brought you in. Like it's those people that identify, the abilities of students like yourself and say, hey, like you need to take the next step that really makes this place special. That relationship, helps students grow.
Yeah. So. And just keeps the, basically, what you said, and it keeps the retention level afloat.
I wish we could have applied it 20 years ago, my friend. Dude, it's been tough. It's been tough watching just and not even really having a front row seat just because I'm younger and I'm now starting to see these things as I get into more active activity in town. But it's like, what if we had 20 years ago been as focused on these personal relationships and this and this building up of students as we are now, would we have seen SIU decline from 23,000 folks to where we're at now with right around 10?
Right.
I just, and I think that just like you're saying, the work that you're doing now, these personal relationships that you're developing, it's not exclusive to you, right? These relationships are open to any student that's going to go out there and ask for them.
Just take advantage of it.
Well,
You get those people that's willing to help. I mean, it's rare that people are just openly willing to help. Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't take advantage of it, they're not going to come back around and try and get you again. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it helps that, everybody's got a financial vesting in that activity now, because it's like, 15 years ago, it would have just been, oh, well, the university is going to survive with or without this one student that I didn't give as much personal attention to, right? But now it's like, if I don't give this personal attention to these students that have come to me, like that's one less piece of bread that goes into my mouth.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's it. I'm cashing out, dude.
All right, man. That's all good.
For episode 58 of the WTF Carbondale podcast, Kentrell Palmer. Actually, give a shout out on the business name, social media, where that's all out. Give me that real
So
quick.
you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, KP Fitness.
Nice.
KP Fitness. Actually, is it cool if I just stand up because the
Yeah, man, do
tagline
whatever you
on
want.
the
As long
back?
as you're in frame on the camera, you're good.
All right, so
You may have to kneel down and
I got you. So we good.
get it on. Nice.
All right,
Nice. There you go.
So yeah, Facebook and Instagram, just KP Fitness, or you can just find my personal page, Kentrell Palmer. Message me through there, and we can either talk on there, or I can just guide you to the business page.
Awesome. And we have guided us through. Oh, come on, camera, focus in on me. And we've guided us through episode 58 of the WTF Carbondale podcast. Kentrell being another interesting person, living an interesting life in this little old place we call home, Carbondale, Illinois. And as always, folks, have a good one, whatever that one may be.